Alright, so in my last video I talked about walking on the snow, just you and yourself with your feet. Now I'm going to talk about walking with an ice axe. This is a common ice axe that I choose for working on Mount Baker or Rainier, other mountains that are usually more volcano-like, that are mostly snow walking and maybe a little bit of snow steps here and there that I have to climb out of. If I go to a different mountain like Shuckson or Forbidden Peak that have more rock, a lot more rock and other more technical traveling, I may choose to not use this axe, but generally this is my go-to snow climbing ice axe. There's a ton of talk in the community, and I'm sure you can find plenty of forums on how to hold the ice axe. There are plenty of people that say you have to hold it with the pick facing behind you and the adze in front, and then the advantage right here is I can go into self-arrest very easily. Other people may say that they've moved on to the pick forward position, what some people may call self-belay, rather than self-arrest position. And then that's really just your preference, what you're comfortable with, your experience level, and the terrain you're on. Those are mainly the four things that it depends on. I'm not going to go in depth into why you would do pick forward versus pick back in this video, but it is something to look at and maybe do some research on your own. In this case, I decided to pull out an ice axe because I believe that the terrain is either a little bit too dangerous to trust just myself with my boots, perhaps the slope is a little too steep and I want a third point of balance, or perhaps I'm with a lesser experienced person and I want to provide more safety for the group. We're attached with a rope, either short roping or glacier travel mode, and I want to have a little bit more ability and stopping power in case that person were to fall down the slope or whatever, and I can actually arrest the team. Those are a few reasons to pull out your ice axe, but there are more. Those are just the first few things that came to mind. Alright, so what I'm going to do is generally when you're traveling on a slope with an ice axe, you're going to put the ice axe in your uphill hand. Right now I'm talking about walking horizontally across the slope, which you will actually find in other situations if you're traveling uphill, where you do zigzags across the slopes, or what many people know as switchbacks. So generally you do have your axe in the uphill hand. You stab that into the snow, step, step, stab. This is the usual way how you travel with an ice axe. There are other quicker ways, but this is, if you're starting out with an ice axe, this is where you want to start with. Is focus the axe as a separate point of balance. Here I have 3 points attaching me to the mountain. Here I have 2. So I always am trying to aim for 2 points on the mountain. When I'm resting in place, I don't need the axe in. One thing I can do is use the axe for balance and kick out a nice ledge if I know I'm going to be here a while. And now it's like I'm standing on flat ground. A lot of times at the side of the slope, that's when we switch and go the other way across. So a way how you can maintain security with your ice axe while you change directions is make sure it's well purchased into the snow. Grab it with both hands. Work your feet around, and then if you want, you can even flip your ice axe around. And then just move right on with that same stab, kick, kick. That's what I'm going to call it, the stab, kick, kick. When I put my ice axe into the snow, and this does depend on conditions, a lot of times I've found that if I end up stabbing it in up to the hilt, if my feet were to slip, a lot of times, and again, this is very condition dependent, I can actually catch myself with the ice axe in this cane mode, especially if the slope is very steep and the ice axe goes in pretty far. The snow also has to be regularly consolidated roughly. Usually the upper 5-6 inches are not as well consolidated, but deep lower than that, you have a nice solid layer. Now these are conditions that are very common to find in more summer type areas and definitely late season. And then you can also get this in mid-season as well. So it's more like mountaineering season, you do get these slopes a lot. However, this is very early season, and this slope is pretty well consolidated, but the upper maybe 5 to 8 inches aren't as well consolidated, and you can see how my axe is only only has probably that much stiff snow. So with me doing that, it probably wouldn't hold a full-on slip if I put my weight on it. But that's just something to think about. And then that's why a lot of people will refer to this as self-belay mode, and then if you were to slip down the hill, you just go into self-arrest.